The first part is, so you will be giving yourself feedback in this way and also each other in a bit. We'll introduce this gently and slowly. Once you get the model, it'll be safer to give somebody feedback in a way that is skillful as opposed to hurtful. Yes, Yvonne? No, this is just bonus. The first part is what I liked or what I loved was, and then something very specific. It is completely useless to tell somebody, your presentation was amazing. It was the best I'd ever seen. It was fabulous. It's good for healing purposes, but it's no good for repeating purposes, because I have no idea what I did that was so amazing. So I don't know which parts to repeat next time. Does that make sense? What I loved was the way you left pauses between your sentences, because that allowed me to follow everything that you said. What I loved was the way you stood in presenter stance. What I loved was the way that you made eye contact with me in that process. You getting this? It's very simple. Specific, specific, specific. It also helps you to develop your reflective competence that we spoke of this morning, to actually be able to identify the small components of somebody's behavior so you can give them more specific and direct feedback. The next bit, which we replace the knee and the groin bit, is like this. What you might consider doing differently. Fascinates me. How many of you are going to say better? You're going to say what you could do better, what I could do better. Hi teacher, hi other teacher, hi schooling system, high pressure from parents and siblings and preachers and teachers and all the other stuff. You're gonna forget it's differently and say, and then we will come and whack you, just to wake you up. Doing differently is, and you're going to be very specific, and then you're going to give a reason. Because, and you're going to be very specific. If you cannot come up with a reason why somebody might want to do something differently, it's not worth the feedback. Then it's just a personal preference because you like it that way, and you are totally entitled to have your preferences. We all do, and I think that's totally appropriate. If everybody loved ice cream, then I wouldn't be enough ice cream for me. So it's just as well everybody doesn't. Let me demonstrate what this does not mean. What you could do differently next time you focus on the desired behavior. Let me demonstrate what it does not mean. What you could consider doing differently next time is not speaking so fast. Right? There's a criticism right there. You should not speak so fast. As opposed to what you might consider doing differently next time is to speak a little bit slower so that I can hear everything you have to say. Right? Does that make sense? So if somebody was like really fidgety and walking up and down like tennis at Wimbledon, you can say what you might consider doing differently next time is not to pace up and down the stage so much. That's focusing on the undesired behavior, and it's focusing on what you'd rather them not do. How might you say that in the feedback model? What you might consider doing differently is do presenter stance, and so do presenter stance, because what might be a benefit of me doing presenter stance as opposed to pacing? Okay, good. So notice the distracting is a negative thing. So what would the positive one be? You just got it. What's the positive? So that you can help me to concentrate more. Yes, let's take one more thing that you think is ineffective as a speaker. What might a speaker do that's ineffective? Okay, good. So most people might say, so you know, next time you speak, it would be, or it didn't really work, which you didn't make eye contact. So this time, how might you say it in the feedback model? Or let's take it avoiding eye contact. So they avoid eye contact, right? That's something they do that's not useful. So what you could do next time is to stop avoiding eye contact. That's the negative, right? It's also focusing on the undesired behavior. How will you do that in the feedback form? What you might consider doing differently is Having more eye contact because, what's the positive reason for making more eye contact? More engagement, right? That's kind of the consensus. That's how it is. So we be specific, we focus on the desired behavior. And when we give the because something specific, we focus on a positive reason. Not so that I don't fall asleep, so that I keep my energy up. Positive reason. Okay, if this takes a bit of time, we still have 2.5 days to do this. This is the feedback model you'll be using, and we'll do a lot of them in the group so that we can coach you on it to make sure that you actually nail it. When you give feedback in this form, I get it every single time, you actually remain open to the feedback. Because did you notice the words? What you might consider. You don't even have, I'm not even asking you to do it. I'm not even asking you to consider it. I'm suggesting that you might consider it. Because someone might say to me, what you might consider is avoid playing music in your workshops because it'll help me to focus more. I'll say thank you very much for the feedback. I have no intention of stopping music. It's part of what I do. Do you get it? You don't have to take on the feedback. It's someone's opinion. That's all it is. And it's given in a graceful way. What you might consider doing not better, differently is, and then a good enough reason. And you can consider for yourself, this reason they just came up with, is that a good enough reason for you to change what you do? Or is it simply a case of, thank you for the feedback? 2 more things about feedback. First one is, are you open to feedback? Some of you will know the old-fashioned, we used to do diagrams in computer language. Yes, continue. No, stop. If you ask me if I'm open to feedback and I say no, stop. What is the point of giving me feedback when I just told you I'm not open to it? It's going to be a waste of your breath. You're probably going to press my buttons. We're probably going to end up in conflict. I'm not open to it. So have the courtesy and the respect to ask somebody if they're open to feedback, not just in here, but out there. We so easily assume people want our feedback when sometimes they just don't want it. They don't care. If they are open to feedback, then obviously you give the feedback. And then the last thing, before the next thing, once you have received feedback, what do you do or say? What else? You might say that. What else? Nothing. Nothing. Let the only words out of your mouth be thank you. Because the minute you start defending, explaining, and justifying, you have just made the other person wrong, and you said you're open to feedback. If you said you're open to feedback, then be open to feedback. Doesn't mean they're right, doesn't mean you agree. But if somebody has enough care about you to actually give you the feedback in a skillful way, then your only words is thank you. That's it. You might say, I might consider it if that feels good to you, but that's it. So and some of you are going to do this. This is just natural. This is how we are, most of us, being conditioned this way. Especially when someone misunderstood you. No, that's not what I meant. I meant it. Oh, I'm just explaining and justifying myself. Thank you for the feedback. You know what you meant. You know it's a misunderstanding. Learn from it. I learned this morning, again, it's not the first time, it's the first time I take notice that the way I did the first page in this manual, where I ask you to write your name at the bottom, and I joked, I said there's always one. The reason there's always one is because the instructions aren't clear in the manual. I don't explain it well, so I'm going to change it in the next manual. There's not going to be a place for your name, it's going to be the name at the top that's already there. Right? So take the feedback instead of defending, explaining, and justifying. Yeah, but I did give the instructions. So learn from the feedback, even if you don't agree with it. Defend, explain, and justify. Just let it be. Sometimes it's hard to say thank you when you believe the feedback is not coming from a place of loving kindness. when it comes from a place of judgment. But I tell you what, when somebody comes from a place of judgment, by the time they have followed the recipe, it still comes out skillfully. Even if they intend just to hurt and harm you, which, I mean, very few people are actually like that. But let's imagine somebody's like that. When they stick to the model, then it's offered in a way that you can process it. I have stopped people when they started dumping their stuff on me. Feedback I didn't ask for, and it's done unskillfully. It's like, I don't want your feedback, thanks very much. Not today, maybe not ever. So a lot of this stuff is about boundaries, right? Where are your boundaries? Are you going to keep letting people walk over you and do whatever, or are you going to say, no, not today? Can you do this for me? No. Can you help me out? No. I love you, I care about you, and no. Thanks for asking, and no. Thanks for asking, maybe tomorrow. Not now. No. And then we all, obviously, I know I'm getting the signs from the crew, I have to stop, but I'm on a roll, so bear with me for 2 minutes. Thank you for reminding me. Consider the possibility that you can say no without needing a reason. Absolutely. Yeah. This is not the time or the place. Yeah. I'm talking about life in general.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah, absolutely. If I'd say thank you very much, I'd love to talk to you afterwards, not now. Yeah. That's it. You got to stop that stuff right in the middle. You got to nip it in the bud before it even starts, almost so to say. So apparently there's a break. I'll see you back in 20 minutes from now. Have a good one.